Joshua Kotzen. He's this week's guest on the Average Days podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Pfizer. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you so much for clicking on this link and listening to what Joshua and I have to say. It's quite interesting how Joshua and I's paths have crossed. One night, I was just in downtown Phoenix. I stopped at a restaurant and I met a member of the Five Flash Media team, Danae. And I followed her on Instagram because she did a lot of videography work. And she had posted one time that she was looking to start a podcast with someone. And of course, I reached out to her, and then she got me in contact with the Joshua Kotzen. That's who I get to sit down with today. And it was such a fun, energetic podcast. He's a very interesting person. I reached out to him, told him my story of the podcast, and he immediately wanted to do work with me. He saw my vision, he trusted me, and I trusted him. He is the CEO of the Five Flash Media team, and him and I speak for about an hour and a half, and we cover all topics of his life. His upgrowing back in Indiana, him starting his business, the mission behind what he wants to accomplish in his business. And I think after you listen to this podcast, you'll understand that it only made sense that him and I teamed up together to help produce this. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
This is what you're waiting for. I think we're ready to rock.
Joshua,
Sup?
before we even start, I feel as if I owe you a overwhelming debt of gratitude. A couple months ago, I reached out to you because I had this idea, starting this podcast. And I've mentioned before on this podcast that I have gone to all kinds of different people and sat down with them to try to bring this idea of mine to life. And for multiple reasons, it just didn't work out for me. There was something that pulled at me that was like, maybe I shouldn't go with this company. Let's not rush into this. And I had a conversation with you and Danae. And there's one thing in that conversation that really stood you out from everybody else. Is, of course, you offered your equipment and you mapped out a plan. On top of that plan, you could see in your eyes when we met that you were 100% in on this idea of mine. Beside all of that, there's one defining reason why I decided to go with Five Flash Media to help me with this idea, was because you had offered to take time out of your week to help coach me. Like, hey man, I know you're walking into waters unknown, which is true. I've never done a podcast. This is kind of crazy. And that characteristic of yours and your team was like, it was night and day between the people that I spoke with. Everybody was really interested in like the money and the time and yada, yada, yada. But you were more interested on what I can do to bring the best version out of yourself for this podcast. With all of that being said, where does that Joshua come from? That selflessness of time, and to not just go into an effort or go into a project, but to go into it with wanting to pull out the very best in the person that you're working with.
So you're asking me where does that come from?
Yeah, where does that come from?
I have no idea.
Because a lot of people don't have that.
But I want to circle back real quick because you said that, well, let me give credit where credit is due. So Danae is a part of Five Flash Media, my company. She put on her Instagram story that she was doing podcasts and if anybody needed help. And so as far as I know, you had met her and then you were watching her story, correct?
Right.
And so it was through her that I got to meet you, and then she and I got to sit down with you, and we got to see this idea or this concept that you had for your podcast. So I did want to give her credit because as much as I would love to say that it was all me, well, it wasn't. Luckily, though, I was able to be here, and obviously, now we're doing this. And
well, I think the team that you've created, the team that you've created is a direct reflection of you. And I met Danae for, obviously nobody knows this, but I was out with some friends downtown Phoenix one night, And to end our night, we stopped at a bar. Danae was working behind the bar, and she was incredibly friendly. She was asking us how our evening was and the whole 9 yards. And she mentioned that she does photography on the side, and so we exchanged information. And you're right, I came across her weeks later that she was looking to start a podcast. And I had, like, I don't want to say I had given up on the idea, but I just thought maybe it wasn't the proper time. 2 years ago when I was reaching out to companies, I do think that on top of the companies not really giving me what I was looking for, I personally wasn't ready to go on that journey.
Yeah.
I have seen what podcasts can do to certain individuals. Sometimes they jump into it too quick, and then they just aren't prepared for the world that comes along with it. And I didn't want that to be it. I wanted to create a realistic expectation for myself and then find a team that would help me accomplish that realistic expectation. And for me, it was season-based podcast, 6 episodes, get 6 episodes in. And if you could do that, then we'll go from there. What is it about just the idea that you were like, you know what, let me give this a try?
So, whenever we all sat down and we talked about it, oh man, this is like just scratching the surface from like all the questions that I believe you have for me. So like this is like,
oh yeah, I'm expecting to get into
Yeah,
the nitty-gritty here, my brother.
Yeah, but
I
no,
want
let
the
me-
people to understand like how our relationship started, you know, because
thank you.
yeah, I don't want to
Yes.
I don't want to just jump in here and get straight into the nitty-gritty. There's, you know, we gotta get some surface level information down.
I
you
love
know?
this.
So
Good
yeah, yeah.
shit.
Look,
So-
it's the coaching, man. It's
Yeah. Okay, so no, this is good. Okay, so okay, you were giving me all these ideas about like talking to average people and wanting to provide a platform for them to talk about themselves when typically like people don't get to hear that. Like it's like I don't know, you're sitting on a bus, you're sitting next to a person, like you overhear something, you talk to a friend, but that's it. And one of the reasons, like I have my own podcast called Sips and Slides, and also one of the reasons why I told you, like, look, dude, like I've been doing this for years, like it's taking me so long to figure out an intro.
Right.
Like I'll help you with whatever you need. Like you just come to me and ask me. You're obviously busy, and so like, you know, if you needed to, like, don't call me at 3 a.m, but like, you know, still call me.
Yeah, right.
We have office hours now.
Phone's on D&D at 9 o'clock. Don't even think about it.
Exactly. Like that's on Do Not Disturb. Like not the Blue Moon one, but like the work one.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's more. There's multiple now.
Yeah.
Anyway, your idea hit home for me so much because you just wanted people to give their honest life stories, and most people don't get that because they don't have money to do things like this. They don't like the people who are the most important are the moms who are taking care of their children, the fathers who are supporting a family, and that could be having 3 jobs. That could be like, the point is they don't have time or funds to do things like this on their own. And so you wanted to give them an opportunity to get their voice out into the world. And there aren't that many people that will go lower than them. A lot of podcasters try to go higher for the views. And what you're doing is going lower to the people who have real stories that people can relate to. So that way one person can actually, like, that one story can make a difference to somebody, if it's next year, if it's 5 years from now, if it's 2 weeks from now, watching your podcast, because there are people that have been in those situations. And so you're giving those people a way to give out those. And thank God, like, we're in a period of time, like, yes, you can say there's horrible things about the internet. There's great things, but like what it's done is it's allowed everybody to have a transparency and allowed almost an average person to give their story. And so what you're doing is you're doing just that. Like the day and age where we have all of this TikTok, Instagram, you're giving somebody the ability to come on here, ask them questions, find out what's the shit that nobody really hears about or talks about. The there was a word that you had said. It was like, it was so like it's not raw. It's whatever. It's I saw what you were doing. I saw what you wanted to do, and it just felt like perfect. Which, I mean, in business, or like however you want to say it, like, remember how I said, like, usually people go up and like, okay, let's go find an artist, let's go get a DJ, let's go get like a some influencer, and we'll put him on here. We'll get him on here, and then we'll talk about whatever he wants to talk about, she wants to talk about. We get thousands, hundreds of thousands of views. Clip that, blah blah blah. Well, what you're doing is you're bringing somebody who has actual meaningful and powerful information, bringing him on here, and then that in and of itself is gonna like give, like, you're gonna do what most people do. Just in my opinion, it's gonna take a little longer, but it's more ethical. So that way, like, you can get the views, you can get the notoriety, but you're doing that by giving other people notoriety first. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's a lot. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think you answered what I was looking for. But for me, there's really not like a quantitative goal with this. It's just,
And that's why it's gonna work.
it's just people. I have to speak off personal experience, and that's what a lot of this podcast is going to be. I know that there's a level of vulnerability that comes
Vulnerability.
with me
That was the word.
There you go. Yeah.
Raw.
Yeah, raw.
Sorry. I'm like it's vulnerability. I was looking at that. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, there's a level of vulnerability I know that comes with being a host of this podcast, and if I'm expecting people to come on here and to share their stories,
You have to be vulnerable.
I have to be. I have to lead by some kind of an example. And for me, why I personally want to start this podcast is because my world got shook probably about 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time ever. I mean, I feel kind of ignorant in saying this, but I lived a life up until I was like 23 of just like not really experiencing heartbreak, not really experiencing, like, I was in the military. I always had a paycheck. I never really experienced like the this is life kind of things until it seemed as if like one after another they were just coming into my life, and it was like, welcome.
And life slapped you in the face, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like, welcome to Earth. This is you know what I mean? You know. And but no, I just like I was almost arrogant in the sense of just like I was in a way kind of getting the opportunities that I wanted. I just never had any like conflicting problems that really challenged my ethics or my core pillars of life.
What are your core pillars of life? What are your beliefs?
I have a strong belief that it is our responsibility to be honest and to respect people's opinions. By no means do I think that everything I say is gospel. I have learned over the years to be more attentive to what people believe in. I think one thing that we get really caught up on is this is the right way, you have to do this, and I don't know if that's like a productive way to go through society.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to listen to what everybody has to say. I don't have a strong stance on a political view because I feel as if there's maybe a particular agenda or something that they are trying to accomplish on each side, but I want to hear what people have to say. And I wasn't always like that. I was a strong believer that I'm in the military, I'm playing football, I've got all this going on, and I know right from wrong. Y'all don't know. I'm doing this. Whenever I had like relationship problems or a loss of a friend or problems with my family, when those things started to come up, I was really bad with like accepting that people were there to love me. I was really bad at accepting the fact that like people are genuine and they want to just help. And I thought that being a man was, I can take all of this on by myself because that's what a man does. And
what did you think they were doing when they were like asking to help you and all those, you know, the certain situations? Like,
yeah. You know, I think I did believe that they were trying to help, but I just felt that in those periods of my life that I was meant to go through that heartache. Like, and do it alone though, right? Like, so when I lost my job, or I lost a friend, or my relationship wasn't going well, I felt as if I'm supposed to walk around with this gray cloud over my head, and everyone's supposed to know it. And I'm not, and I'm supposed to go through this journey by myself, and I'm not supposed to take on anybody else's information, because this is my story. No one else can connect with my story, you know?
I was in that spot too. I get it. Yeah.
So it was just like, dude, leave me alone. Like, you all don't understand what I'm going through. And I had a conversation with my brother Isaac one day when I tore my ACL. And since I was growing up, I had these aspiring goals to play college football and whatever. And it was really driven by the fact that I just wanted to prove a lot of people wrong back in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think I had gotten like a fair shot, or whatever the reason might be, but I was pursuing this goal to play football so that when I got there, I can post the pictures and be like, ha ha, got y'all.
Yeah, I did it, yeah.
And that ended up, that ego, it all just came crashing down at once. And I didn't have a strong foundation. I didn't know who to lean on. I didn't have anybody to lean on. And I'm driving down Thomas one day, and my brother Isaac calls me on the phone, and he knows that I'm going through this tough time. And he's like, man, you know, you're really being hard on yourself, and I need you to like stop at the next stoplight, and I just need you to like look around. I'm like, okay, dude, whatever. So I stop at a stoplight on Thomas, and I'm looking around. He's like, what do you see? I'm like, oh, there's like a couple homeless people. There's this lady in a minivan next to me. And he goes, I need you to understand that everybody that you look at right now, they've all got a story to tell.
Yeah.
And they're all going through something. So
it's not just you.
I would advise maybe leaning on them for encouragement. And my smart ass was like, this lady in this minivan next to me knows what it's like to have her dreams ripped away, something that I was trying to accomplish my whole entire life. My brother's like, well, maybe. You don't know. Maybe she does. But look a little bit smaller. Look in your friend group, your nearby community. And not just hear what they're saying, but really listen to what they're trying to offer you. And as I sat back and I started to hear people in my close life open up about their adversities and their trials, I was like, oh shit, all of our stories are ubiquitous. They're all the same in some kind of facet. Now, I never want to be the person that weighs two people's pain, because your pain is significant to you because it is your life. My pain is significant to me. So I would never try to weigh two people's trials. But there are certainly pieces of our stories that we can use as encouragement if you properly have rectified and have gotten through it. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, a pillar of mine that I've tried to grow over the last couple of years is to not just hear what people are saying, but really listen and engulf the information that they're giving, because everybody has a story to tell. Mm-hmm. And I believe that our stories is the answer to somebody else's prayer, because the stories that I heard when I was initially going through the loss of my best friend, my family and I aren't in the greatest communication, or my relationship going to shit, or my job not going the way as planned. It was the friends, my immediate friends that were right next to me, that offered me that encouragement. And I thought to myself, like, damn, like, these people are really putting me on game right now. Like, they're really helping me out more than they even know. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the slightest bit of encouragement for somebody can do a tremendous amount in their life, because it did for me. And so that's what I want to offer with this podcast. I want people that are interested in telling their story, that have overcome the things that they've overcome, and have now created something for themselves that they can take pride in. They created something in themselves that they can, it's not just driven by the dollar. And don't get me wrong, I believe that it's okay to want to make money. It's okay to have nice things. But when that's your immediate focus, and you're driven by the account in your bank account, J. Cole says it best. It's like a rabbit. It's like a hamster wheel. You're just always chasing. You'll never get enough. It makes me think, like, okay, well then what gives you that feeling of being of enough? And everybody that I've spoken with, it has to do with something, giving back to their community, helping people, encouraging people, purpose. And I'm like, I think this is a message that needs to be given out. It's so missed. And all I see on Instagram sometimes is just money, money, money. I'm trying to make this, I'm trying to make that. And don't get me wrong, I don't think there's anything wrong with making money. But when that is your sole, when that is the only thing you're encompassed by is by money.
Like your highest priority is like trying to make money, that's wrong.
I believe that it will fail you and it will hurt and you will miss out on opportunities to build relationships with people. You'll miss out on the opportunity to connect with people. You'll do people dirty. I just read this book of the psychology of money, and it talks about this guy that owned a hedge fund. He's making millions and millions of dollars, and he had got word that the stock was going to get ready to tank and things were happening, and it didn't hit the media platforms yet. So he takes
GameStop?
No. It was a little bit before that. A little bit before that. But
That's all I know.
But he dumped millions and millions of dollars into it to just make $1 million. He had already had millions. He didn't need to do it. But his love for money is what made him want to cheat and lie. And
I see what you're saying.
he ended up getting caught for it. And after he talks about it, and he's just like, yeah, I was just greedy. I didn't need the money, but I just couldn't get enough of it. And it can be evil. The love of money can be evil. We see it in our community. We see it in politics. We see it all over the place. Everyone's trying to make a nickel and dime.
Well, let's start there. Because I did not grow up wealthy. My mom and dad, I had a roof over my head. My mom made sure we had, food, and but like, I can't speak for anyone else, just like how you said it earlier. But like, for me, the biggest reason why I wanted to start Five Flash Media was because I wanted to help other people who had the same, the same belief in getting, not belief, it's not even the right word. Yeah. There you go. People who were artists and had the desire to use photography or videography as their medium, I wanted to be the person to jumpstart their career, because coming from humble beginnings, I guess, not having enough money to go to the schools for film or photo or anything like that, and then basically picking up the having the desire for it. Anyway, I want to help people, or I wanted to help people, and I'll talk about Eden in a second, because I was talking to my team about it, and I was talking to her. She was here yesterday. She's one of my employees, and I wanted to help people jumpstart their career and not have the excuse that money is the issue or clients are the issue, or not being able to find somebody that could do a photo shoot for free.
Right.
Like, because that's still an issue, even if you have a camera and you have a laptop and you have all the other BS that comes with it. And now you can't find anybody because nobody knows who you are, and they think that you're going to take shitty photos of them.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I started Five Flash Media. Now, but the thing is, like, my mom and dad, they were, I don't say less, they had money, but they didn't have a lot. I don't know how else to say it. They had a house.
Yeah.
My father was not there. He was never there. He was just, his priorities were not the family. And he's going to watch this, and he knows that I already forgave him for all this.
Yeah.
But he also knows I was pissed off at the time.
Yeah.
We're done. There. Forgiven. But we're talking about it now. That was the past. And so mom took care of me. Dad did his own thing. And dude, I was a horrible kid. I don't know. Like, I was trying to figure it out. Mom did her best.
Yeah.
I was never good at school. And then, I'm fast forwarding here, but went to 2 separate high schools, and we can talk about that later. Then tried college, failed again and again and again, 3 times, right? Again. Yep. And then I decided to go to Indiana, and it was there that I met a lot of the people that I have on my team now, and I decided I wanted to build what is now Five Flash Media, and now we're here. So yeah,
I want to go back just to your childhood because I have I can relate. My mom has worked her whole entire life. I mean, she's from like, I gotta choose my words properly here, but I would say the slum farmland, the outbacks of Mexico, Guadalajara.
okay, yeah.
I had a chance to go visit her when I was with my grandma and like some of my cousins.
Is she
stuff.
here or is she over there?
She's here in Chicago now, but back, she grew up
At
there
the time.
from like she was like 4 or something like that. But I had the chance to go back there, get a little bit of her life. My mom's been fucking working her ass off since day one. That's all she knows is to work. And as I was growing up in high school, she was working 2 jobs. My dad was working, but he worked in Chicago, so he was taking a train. He was gone for the majority of the time, and I've really sat back and thought about this. I don't know the extent of my parents' situation. I don't know the money that they were bringing in. I don't know what they had or whatever, but it was always through the grapevine of like my uncles. They'd be like, yo, your dad has got a lot of money. And I used to think to myself, like, what the fuck are they always working for? Like, let's do something. Like, why are you guys only trying
Spend
to
time
make
with
money?
me, damn it.
Yeah, well, and I just that idea is I don't want to say that my parents were just like trying to get so much money, but like now that we're older, like I feel like I don't have that strong of a connection with my family, like with my parents, because we never really had like, at least that I remember, really like really personal conversations. Like my parents don't like talking about it.
Yeah.
Up until recently, like I finally had a conversation with my mom like 2 months ago where she really talked to me about like her growing up. And but my dad, though, you bring up stories of my dad's past and he doesn't like talking about them at all. Did you ever have that growing up? Were your parents like, was your parents pretty open to just sitting down and answering questions for you, or things that you were experiencing you felt confident going back and talking to them? Or
So my mom is from Mexico. And it's really so like she moved to the United States, I believe, when she was like 13. She knew no English, and so like you're talking about like the slums, like literally like Gomez Palacio Durango, for anybody who doesn't like. I'm not gonna like say the whole thing. Durango, Mexico. And if you saw where her and her 13 siblings and mom and dad lived in that house, in my opinion, you would call that slumming it.
yeah,
Where the shower was a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket,
shit.
and you got the water from the night before when it was dripping, and then you would take the cup and then you would shower like that for all of the children, because whenever I went there to go visit, that was my shower. Fun.
Damn.
Yeah, and so I'm very grateful for all the stuff that I have now. Very grateful. So my mom was always open with me about all of these things. Now, my father, on the other hand, we're going back to him. So he had, you know how like whenever you're a kid, like you think that your parents are like superheroes, and then you like grow up and then you're like, oh shit, they're just humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I never had the superhero part. I just had the part where I saw my mom and dad being adults and then talking to me about sex and money problems and relationship issues. And I was essentially like the pseudo husband for my mom. And then for my father, I was the therapist talking to my mom about what she needs to do for him, because he didn't have the strength to talk to her. It was very convoluted.
Yeah.
And so, and on top of like raising my sister. So my mom was always open. my father had all the answers. I think what I was trying to get at is like, you think your parents have all the answers and then they don't. My dad had all the answers and he never wanted to give them to me. Not because he didn't want to, but because, and this is verbatim, and he can quote me on this, you just didn't ask. How am I supposed to know what I don't know? I'm a kid.
Yeah.
So fucking tell me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, so he's an accountant, and right now we have a beautiful relationship. He is my accountant for my company. It is the way that I figured out how to spend time with my father, because I try to think about if I made $1 million, and I mean, this was actually the goal. I make not $1 million, but like it at the time, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's just round up here, right? If I made $1 million, let me, like, I will buy my dad out of working for all of these high-end companies doing their accounting, right? Later on, I find out that even if I would have given him all the money, he would have somehow found his way. You know how like money trickles down, like it always goes back to the same pockets? Well, he would always find a way to go back to a 9-to-5 because that's how his mind is made up. And we've talked about it, me and him, and that I don't know why. And I mean, no, not that I don't know why. We need people like that in this earth. If everybody was entrepreneurs, then nothing would get done.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
like, nobody would do. I don't do math, so nobody would do math. Like, I can talk. That's all I can do. I know that. So play to your strengths, right?
Yeah.
He like. He's what I was getting at that is that like he would always find a way to go back to find a 9-to-5, right? So instead of like giving him $1 million and trying to get him out of what he couldn't mentally get out of, what I did was I figured out a way. I'm like, okay, if you're not going to, if your mindset will never change, then let's just switch your job for my job.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pretty smart, but basically, like making his 9-to-5 at whatever company or organization he was doing accounting for, just slowly switching it to mine. And now he still has a 9-to-5, but now we're talking a lot more.
And now you can do a little tax write-off, baby.
Exactly.
Go on that.
And and now he's texting me all the time. Why didn't you snap the receipt in QuickBooks? And you know what I say? Daddy, I got it right for you. I'm not kidding you. That I'll pull it up for you later. I'm not showing it on this.
Yeah. Well, I think the psychology of money and where we've come from is just so, it really is what molds us into who we are and how we operate now. And for my family, I try to give my parents a lot of grace because I finally have slowly gotten into their world and their upcomings. And they didn't have a lot either. Like my mom from the hood of Mexico, my dad came from the South Side projects. And so their pursuit to like try to make as much as they possibly can, I see where they were coming from because they didn't have anything.
Yeah.
You know? But now I think they're in that transition period where they're like, we don't need to be working like this anymore. We can now give
back?
Well, no, more just like we can start to build a stronger relationship with our kids now. Like, because and that's why I'm so fucking confused because it's like, oh, you guys were trying to make so much money so that you can get us through. First off, my dad, I love him to death. If he ever does watch this, like, I do love my father. But they would work 2 jobs and they were doing all of this to try to save so much money. But they sent all 3 of us to the military. It just didn't cost them a dime. And they didn't pay for any.
He was in the military, right?
No, he wasn't in the military. So he sent all 2 of my brothers and then myself sent us all to the military. Went to school on Uncle Sam's dime. So then I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like,
so then where was the money
going? Where's all this money going, dude?
Were they investing? What were they doing?
I don't know. I have no idea. And it's like
you still haven't talked to him about that?
Yeah, no, we haven't. Yeah, we haven't. I don't know, man.
He has an island for you. You know, it's actually a gift.
Well, that's what I'm. That's what I hope, right? Like, I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's got like this magical plan.
If it's not an island, it's a boat, and if it's not a boat, it's a Ferrari.
Who knows, right? Yeah. But you know, there's a lot of more stuff with my family that we need to work on. That's not just the dollar side of things. But I get it. You know, kinda, I guess. I don't know, but I want to try to get a better understanding of your childhood because we're all we're all formed by the idea of money because we know the impact it can have on our life, but we also
Okay, so my father was an accountant for a lot of these bigger people, right?
right.
My dad knew, he knew Tony Robbins. He knew, like, not knew, but like he was in, like, 6 degrees of separation, right? You're six people away from, like, literally anybody. He was like 2, 1.5 or 2. Like, one was a smaller person, so, like, 1.5.
Yeah.
Literally, no, he was a small person, so I will say 1.5. But let's say he was 2 people away from pretty much everybody that we know. So, like, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, what was the other dude? Anyway, all of these people. So my mom would, he would force me and my sister to go to church services, conventions. I mean, obviously I didn't know what these things were. He just forced me into, like, a little baby suit, and, like, I would go everywhere, hold my sister, and she would cry, whatever. And I was surrounded by all of these people. I had no idea who these people were. He was working for all of these people as, like, the accountant. And then my mom was, like, reluctantly going to these things, right? She then gets introduced to all of these people. She gets Tony Robbins' books because we're literally there with him and his team. This is before he's having, like, millions and millions of people and, like, these. I mean, he's still big, right? But, like, anyway. So my mom did such a great job because she had no idea what the hell she was doing. I mean, obviously neither am I. Neither do I not know what I'm doing because I never had a mentor. But my mom, she did a good job because she said, Joshua, here's a book. Okay, this is a book. I don't know who. His name is Tony Robbins. Give me your hand, Joshua. Give me your hand. Take the book and read it. I don't know what the heck. He's smart. He talks about money. Oh. Learn about this. Okay. And then what do you think I did? I'm an idiot kid. I'm like, no, I'm not going to read. So I had, like, my mom, who was trying so hard because she didn't know anything. She came from Mexico. We barely had, like, a little bit of money for food, right? All she knew is, like, we're surrounded by these people. Just learn something because I can't teach you anything. Mm-hmm. Learn from them. Learn money from them. Because we didn't have, I never had what's the book called? Psychology of Money. I never, like, my father never just blatantly told me about money or never taught me about money, even though he's, like, dealing with it every day. Nobody in my sphere of influence ever taught me about, like, except for my mother, and her doing her best, never taught me about honesty, about trust, about respect, about finances, about saving, about investing. Nobody. And so, yeah, like, that was literally my childhood, like, trying to figure out all, like, and fucking up over, and I'm okay with it. Like, I was okay with it. Like, I don't know at what point it was where I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. We're just going to keep trying. Yeah. But that was my entire childhood. Just trying shit, don't work. Trying shit, don't work. Yes, yeah. Exactly. I knew. I was hoping you would get that.
That's a
reference.
Like the greatest black comedian of all time. Of course.
Yep. That was my childhood.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, man, I know. I sit back and I reflect on, like, what my parents were trying to accomplish, and they had 3 boys that they tried to prepare and equip as best as they possibly could for the world, and I think they did the very best that they could given the resources that they were given and the circumstances that they were growing up in. Yeah. And I believe that now it is my duty to take what I've learned, tweak some things, see things that I didn't like, and then try to do my best to give it back to the world in whatever way is possible.
Well, that's why this is so perfect.
Well, so I guess that's really why this is what this is driven by, is just by my upgrowing in my past. Is like
you were, like, so pissed that, like, there were so many things. I don't say pissed. I don't know what the right word is for you, but, like, you're like, there's so many things that I could have learned and that I could have done and that I could have had, like, an understanding of, and nobody gave this to me. So then, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna give it to everyone else because I never got it.
Yeah.
Something like that. You're like, no, that's not it.
No. I mean, yeah, literally.
In
And-
your own words.
and-
That was my words. In your own words.
Yeah, but I just think that's the beauty behind people's story and wisdom is like you teach them shit that you didn't know. You try to encourage them and let them know, like, hey, this didn't work out for me. You do whatever you want to do, but this is what happened to me when I tried that, and just to give you some kind of perspective. And when you talk about a family, my dad grew up in like the hood in Chicago in a 1-bedroom apartment with 9 other siblings or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
There's only so much information you can pass on from that. You didn't know a lot, right? You grew
Yeah.
up without a father or whatever, so you did the very best that you could. And I just don't want him to I don't want my parents to miss out on the greatest blessing that they have on this earth. Isn't the money, it's just their story. Like, there's so much to be told in their story and experiences that as I'm starting to grow older as this young adult and I'm going through business and relationships and friendships, like, I know that there's something in their story, in their past, that could help me through whatever it is that I'm going through. And my parents don't, they haven't gotten to that point yet, so I don't blame them for it because they've never been there. They've never experienced it. My dad didn't have a dad, so he never had that figure to like go and he could lean on.
Yeah.
So I get it, I get it. But now that like I'm learning from all these different avenues and from different people like you and your experiences and everybody, that it's like, okay, sure, I can harness all of this information and I can keep tackling these pillars that I want to tackle, but what good is it if I can't give it to anybody else? When you make it to the top, my buddy Cam always says this. He's like, you can go and make all the money in the world that you want to, but when you get to the top, you're going to look around and see nobody there with you. What's the point then? If you can't go,
It gets really lonely.
it's going to get lonely. Bring the people with you. You learn something, pass it on. Hey, man, this is going good for me. You should try it. Hey, man, this didn't work out for me, whatever. Because you don't want to get to the end of the road and it's just you standing on the top, and what's the point if you don't have anybody to spend it with?
There's
you
a
don't have
few
anybody
things that I wanted to like piggyback on. So one thing, and I might forget all 3 of them or maybe 2, but
Yeah, just gotta do one. Just start with one.
First off, the one that I wanted to say first is that I have observed that some of my family members, the older they get, the more I see them wanting to have a relationship with me, which is really funny because I realize that, like, in my opinion, they're getting old, they're gonna die, and they want to actually build a relationship with me and my sister, which is, it's great, but it's also hilarious. Like, I have a weird sense of humor. So so there's that. The other thing is, I wanted to mention for you, and we can clip this. So something that I wanted to tell you the other day is that of the people on social media, I don't say the word hate very often, but the thing that I hate with a capital H more than anything is people, 2 things. People who fake it till they make it kind of thing, mentality, which is I hate.
Yeah.
Because I would rather them just be.
We don't use that word.
Go
ahead. Well, go ahead.
In my household. So being vulnerable is very important to somebody that I want to work with, because I don't want anybody to fake it till they make it whenever I'm working with them. I want them to be vulnerable and be honest about their situation, what they're doing. And then the second thing is that the thing that I hate, excuse my language, cussing this whole time, and now hate is a bad word. I don't say it often, but when I do. When people online, on social media, tell other people what to do, I don't care if they're 30 years into it. I don't care if they're 3 months into it or 3 years into it. And they're like, you should do this, you should do that. Something that I love and I really appreciate about you is that you say what I have observed is in blank. Mm-hmm. Because I respect that so much, because so many people online, I mean, you're creating a podcast. You're putting information out there to the whole world. And so if you're telling me or your viewers to, here's money advice, here's family advice, No, nobody can do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. People online can't do that
Yeah.
because they don't know your situation. You're giving them a way to like, what's the word? With this podcast, you're giving them a way to relate to you. But the best thing that I've seen from you more than anybody else online is that you're saying, this is what I've observed. So I just wanted to tell you that, and like I just wanted to give you your flowers because honestly, like it's I don't know if you say it's night and day or it's like it's just beautiful, the fact that you actually think about that instead of trying to tell people what to do.
Well, I enjoy listening to Jordan Peterson, and he is the one that kind of put me on that idea, is we have to be very careful giving advice to people, because a lot of the time we give advice because it's self-gratifying. If I tell you to go do something and you go do it, who's really getting the reward? Is it me?
I guess
like,
you.
Is it me? Like, I told you so. Listen to me. I got all the answers. I told you so. And then if I tell you to go do something and it doesn't particularly work the way that you want it to, then what? Then you can look at me and say, well, fucking, you told me to do this, man.
Yeah.
And it's a slippery slope. And for me, that's never the idea. I like to look at people based off example. One person that I really enjoy, I don't follow too many influencers on Instagram. One, because they aren't really influencing anything. What's your, like, a lot of the people that I don't follow anymore is like,
Yeah.
you don't, if you were to, God forbid, off the face of the planet, you're no longer here.
Yeah.
Your society, your community would not change. Like, the people around you would not change. They wouldn't have any kind of impact. Yeah, like, you'd be gone, but you didn't have like a message or a mission that you were trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
One person that I really follow that I'm an ambassador for is Nick Bear. He's the CEO of Bear Performance Nutrition. And this dude and his relationship with his family, and now he has a new daughter, it blows my mind. Because he just lives based off of example.
Mm-hmm.
This is my core pillars. This is what I've learned. He's got a podcast about his vulnerability, things that he struggled with. And it's night and day for me. I see him and I gain encouragement all the time when I see the things that he's doing, because he's doing so much. He's running his own business. He's got a daughter now. He's got to be a husband and he's got to be a CEO and whatever. But he finds things that are important to him to make sure that he covers, and he does it on his Instagram. He shows what it's like to be a man and balancing all these different avenues of his life. And although he's not perfect and he has his struggles, I'm sure, but it's encouraging to watch him. His message.
So I got a question for you. So like, I know you have questions for me, and I'll shut up in a second.
Yeah.
But what, like,
it's okay. You can give it a take. This is what we're.
You're
good.
You're like, you're doing this podcast, and we've kind of talked about it, but like, I kind of want to put you on the spot here. Like, what's the bigger picture? Like, what do you want to do with this? Because like, did you say, like, I am, like, Danae and I are producing the podcast that we are on right now? You know, like your Average Days podcast.
Yeah.
Average Days podcast.
Yeah.
And so like, this is step 1.
Right.
What is step 5? Like, what's the bigger? Have you thought about that? Or are you just going like step by step, seeing how it grows?
I think for me, I do have a. Well, actually, I don't know if I have any kind of end goal. I'm just taking it a day at a time, and what comes onto my plate. I think one thing we can get overwhelmed by just wanting this one goal. We have this one mission at the end of this whole thing, but we have so many steps ahead of us that like we can't afford to not take notice of. I think my initial goal right now is to just create a platform for people that want to come on and speak about anything. Those are my initial goals, and I want to do the very best that I can to facilitate a conversation and to shine them in the best possible light that they can, because there are people in our community that do incredible work, whether they're doctors, lawyers, firefighters, photographers, personal trainers, fucking whatever, that have a story to tell. And if they're comfortable with talking about their story, I want to talk to them about it. One thing that I struggled with over the last 2 years as I was going through all these growing pains is I would listen to these podcasts of these famous people, and I just
I know what you're gonna say.
I couldn't connect with them. I'm like,
Oh, does it hurt that
it's-
much for a $23,000 blah blah blah? Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that.
well, it's just, and nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
But to a certain point, like, you're kind of just unrelatable. Like, even Drake says it in his song, like, I'm making so much money I can't even speak to y'all. And there's nothing wrong with that. Cool. Like, I love Drake. I'm not trying to bash on him, but there's just like there's tears, you know? And for me, it's like I would listen to some of these people talk, and I'm like, fucking hell, man. Like, I get it. We're all the same, and we all have a story to tell, and you're trying your best to bring yourself down to our world. But
At a certain level,
it's
you
tough.
kind of can't.
It's tough, right? And
Yeah.
they all say it. Like, I'm a nerd. I like to watch
No
people
way.
play video games. It's
Oh.
like one of my favorite pastime
Okay.
things.
Okay.
And one of my favorite players is Tfue, and he just recently went on YouTube and he's retired. And he has a retirement video that's out right now. And one thing that he said in that video that like made me think like, damn, like you do get to this level where it's like overwhelming and like you just want to be young again. You're missing out on all these things in your life.
Is that the video
and you
where
just
he?
wanna,
Is that the video where he was like, "Look, man, I just want to like go on vacation for
I
like
just want to go on
a month
just
or
wanna go on
something."
Dude, it was
Was that it?
yeah, it was like, and it was like,
And he was
fuck, like,
crying, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you know, it sucks because it's like he just wants to come down a level. He's
Yeah.
created this crazy life for him, which was great, right? But he even says like it started to get to the point where it was like fueled by money, and it got weird, and like now he doesn't find any joy in what he's doing, and it's like
Now he wants escape from real life as opposed to the escape that he found in gaming.
right, and it just seems like now he wants to just be an average Jay. He just wants to come down and just like slow his world down. And look, I don't know, like I think there's tears, and at a certain point it's hard for me to listen to certain people, you know. Not saying that they don't have a incredible story to tell and that their story isn't aspiring to somebody, right? But for
You know
me,
what?
for me personally,
so
it was
I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. So it's really weird right now for me in my position. So I always told everybody that I'm gonna make a lot of money. I'm gonna do all this stuff. Some people didn't believe me. I was at this is a side quest here, but I was at Bed Bath & Beyond whenever I moved back from Indiana, and I was in the back of like the stock room at like 4 a.m, putting away like the all the shit that Bed Bath & Beyond had, because they had like everything, like they sold everything.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal.
Is that even around anymore? Bed Bath & Beyond?
Actually, they were acquired by Overstock, and now Overstock.com is going to rename. They're going to rename themselves Bed Bath & Beyond because of all the bad controversy for Overstock.com. And so they just bought the name. Yep. And so now Bed Bath & Beyond is still alive, but there's going to be no such thing, and you can fact check me. They bought it for such a cheap price because they were going out of business.
Yeah.
They just bought the name. Yep. And now Overstock is it like tripled in value.
Well, that would have been nice to know a couple weeks ago.
I know. Oh, I was trying to get shit from Bed Bath & Beyond, like 90% off, even though it's already 60% off. I go in and they're like, "No, we're good." Like, no, I want the discount. Anyway,
Yeah.
even though there's whatever. So see, side quest. I was working at 4 a.m. at Bed Bath & Beyond when it was called Bed Bath & Beyond, and I was telling all the guys in there. One was like a little younger than me. This dude, older than me. And I was like, one of the things I do is I shoot boudoir, and it's essentially, how do I say this politely or respectfully? It is tasteful nudity, implied nudity. It is not porn. We draw the line.
Right.
We do not do that.
Right.
So I was telling them I'm going to get paid to take pictures of beautiful women naked. And they looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know, we said fucking already. That I was fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say it would never happen, I would never be successful. And now, I'm doing that. That is what I do. Like, you go on my Instagram, you go on my TikTok, and I'm literally like posing these ladies, these high caliber women, doing all me first, going on the bed, and we can talk about that later.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
I know you have. You've done your research. Me posing, doing it, and then they become all comfortable, and then they do it, and then we have this beautiful relationship. And within the hour and a half, we create magic because I was the one who was like, who allowed them to see that it's not that serious. Like, let me do it first, and then you do it. But anyway, so from Bed Bath & Beyond to actually doing it. But the point is, I was a stock boy. I was working like I think it was 3 jobs at the time whenever I like moved back here. And I was telling everybody that I was going to do this. I also had in the back of my mind that like mind you, I don't even see myself as successful right now, okay? I don't even know how to accurately define success for myself. Having issues figuring out, not issues, but I'm trying to learn what my values and morals are, to like what the compass is. Because I've always just wanted to help people, but that's a story for another time. I right now have somebody who cleans my studio. She is somebody who is a family friend. She had a cleaning business. Now, like, if you think about it, like, I don't know how to say it, like, you were talking about like Drake and like, you know, like him not being able to relate and stuff like that. Like, I am now to the point where I am paying my father to be my accountant and my bookkeeper. I am paying, I have employees to delegate work to. I have a cleaning lady. I'm Mexican. I have a Mexican cleaning lady.
Yeah.
It's weird. And I'm still trying to like I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, before I was an average person working at Bed Bath & Beyond, and then I did at the same time I was working as a gym sales associate, like slinging gym memberships, and then after that I would work on my business. So I mean, 3 things plus. Oh, and I was a meal prep. I started a meal prep company. I did good. Yeah, whatever.
I want to take you back because right now it sounds like you're just like surprised you're in this position right now. What was your initial motivation behind getting behind the camera? Was there something growing up where you enjoyed photography, or where did this come from?
Thanks for going back a little bit.
Were you just kind of trying new things, or?
So I always had my father purchased this Kodak camera that I like for family vacations. I think we had 2 family vacations in like 14 years. But he did buy the camera. I always had the camera in my hand. And I still have it, and I actually use it to this day. It's a 2 megapixel camera that I learned manual. I learned how to shoot I'm like pointing like they could see the camera that's on you right now. Stupid. I learned how to shoot photography on this 2 megapixel, and for people who don't know, that is like damn near that's like no sharpness. That's like all grain. It looks like a digital photo because you have to like hike up the ISO, fake light, whatever, it doesn't matter. It was a dope ass camera, but it was the first camera. Yeah, I always had it in my hand. Yeah. So I would go around, I would take pictures, man, I had a camcorder in my hand. My dad bought one of those old ass camcorders that you like had right here, and you're like.
Every dad, I feel like, had one of those.
Right?
It's cool.
I know, and
they're fun to look back at too.
They some of them I accidentally like recorded over them by accident.
Oh,
they were pissed.
Worst. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Because the VHS thingy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But I didn't realize at the time, another side quest. I didn't realize. So there were mini. My
dad used to have the mini ones.
Yeah, well, there were a mini one in there, and then you took the mini one and you put it into the converter in the regular VHS one, and I put the regular VHS one, and I was up late, and I me being a horny little boy, I recorded the Girls Gone Wild commercials over one of those tapes. That was a birthday, I think, for my grandma.
You guys are just all reflecting, having like a family, like, oh,
We
let's
did.
get together and watch
We
this.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
this was like 3 weeks ago. And
it just happened.
so my mom, dad, sister, and we all sat down, and luckily they didn't get to that part in it.
Yeah.
Because I knew what was going to happen. But I remember
Yeah.
going into it would have been bad. Long story short,
Yeah.
I did the VHS, I rewound it, recorded it. Dude, I was a horny little boy. That's the only thing I had, right? I didn't have an iPhone to record anyway.
Yeah, the old times. Yeah.
Rewind. So
So this is how you got started in photography.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. All right, that's how that's cool. And now he does, now he does boudoir, and it's like,
no more.
Okay, I'm just. All these pieces. Yeah, that's why we do this podcast.
But I just like how you said it, like, I have no problem being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather you know that who wasn't a horny little boy?
Yeah.
Well, when you were a little boy, you know what I mean? You could be a little girl too. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But like, I'd rather just be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when I was younger, I always had a camera in my hand, somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Then, God, no, this is great. I love this. Because nobody else, like, who else? When? Anyway, I'm looking at the producer over there. My cameras don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So then, okay, time goes by. I try and change my medium to painting. So I start painting. My grandmother is a phenomenal painter. She sold her work damn near all over the world, and she had a store, Alice in Wonderland, in Florida. With her husband, my grandfather, and she taught me how to paint. I actually won a lot of awards for my paintings. And funny story that nobody knows about, I think it was only Danae, but whatever. So whenever my grandmother died, my grandfather had already died, grandmother died, they locked up her house, and I broke into her house while like the selling thing was like going on, so I could steal my paintings back. Before they like
Auction them.
shut that whole thing down, and somebody else came in to like clean it up. I was like really upset, obviously, at the situation. Her easel was still up with all her paints, and it was, oh man, I was dead inside. And so I broke into the backside of her house, and I took the last paintings that she and I worked on together. And I think my father still has them right now. But anyway. I did really well in painting. The only issue is that it takes a long time. Like, for me, for other people, it could be 30 seconds, a minute, to get your idea. For me, it was like 3 weeks. Okay, so there you go to painting. Next medium was dance. I always had rhythm, and then apparently I figured out how to dance. And so I kept trying different mediums. The point of this is that photography went from like me being a child all the way to figuring out that maybe this is the right medium that I need to use to be able to get out my message, I guess. And so if you want me to keep going, I'll keep going.
Well, what is your message? You're trying all these different avenues to try to find a way to platform your message. Dancing didn't work. Working on these other jobs didn't work. But now you found this.
It was interesting because I started this in Indiana, and you had a conversation with Dylan. Dylan Streeter had met me. I'm just going to say that because he was one of the you know him now. He met me in Indiana. He actually had a camera before I did, and in Indiana I was a barback at a bar. It was called Upstairs Pub. We can put the label or the I love them. They're amazing. They're the people who believed in me enough to get me to this point, really. So I sold them on the idea that I would do organic content for them and be their social media manager on all of their platforms. So I would take the photos, do the videos, edit, and post, and do all of that for them if they would just buy me a camera. And they bought me a camera. And now I used that. You know that I love to double dip.
Yeah.
And so they kind of knew this, but basically I would do the I would do their work, and I would do all the stuff that they needed to do, right? That they needed me to do. So I would come in, I think 3 times a week, do photos, videos, edit, and then post. But on top of that, I went out and and I'll get to the point of like why all this stuff. If it wasn't for them, then I wouldn't have gone to these other bars and restaurants, and barbershops, and I wouldn't have been able to start my career in Indiana. Now, the biggest reason why I got into photography, why I decided that this was going to be like the catalyst, or like the platform that I was going to use. I had friends, I had females, who were. This was before I had a camera. I was in Indiana, and they were in Arizona. We're in Arizona right now, and I heard stories of them. They would call me. They trusted me, so they called me, and some of them were crying. We were catching up, and then they started crying about what I'm about to say. So basically, they were either molested, raped, or I don't know, like touched or whatever, locked in a hotel room because they just like they were getting into the years that they started to feel like puberty. They started to feel they saw online that there were sexy photos out there, and so they wanted to experience that as well. It just so happened that the people or the men, it's in the industry, the shitty people who do that are MWC, men with camera. Like that's what they're called.
Yeah.
Like that's their title. Like they don't get a name. For the secret female list that goes off and for them to tell people not to work with some of these guys. So I get calls and they're like, hey, like hey Shay, how are you doing? And all of a sudden they're like, we catch up. Then they trust me enough to tell me, oh, well, I was locked in a hotel room. And I'm like, oh, well, that's fucking fun. Why? How? And they were embarrassed to tell me, but finally they were like, well, I wanted to try doing this boudoir thing. I wanted to try doing these photos that I saw online, on Instagram, on wherever. Instagram was just starting at that time. On Pinterest, whatever the case. And it turned out so freaking bad because I was molested. And so I'm over here like, well, like I would never have done that to you.
Right.
Like, I love you. I care about you. Like, why would somebody, because I'm only thinking for me, right? How could somebody do that to someone else? And so then I think it was like after the 4th story of friends who I went to high school with, who something in that realm that happened to them, I was just like, you know what? Why don't I just do it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna hurt you. Like, yeah. And I'm probably fucking better than them anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll do it. Just hypothetically, I'm like, here's the guy. I'm like, get out of the way.
Yeah. No.
Like, let me do this.
Well, that's the harsh reality with the world we live in. Is there's people that are like fucking evil. Like those are evil acts, and you have to be careful with the people that you associate yourself with. And for you to see a problem in the world and then be able to direction where you want your career to go to solve those problems is like, we need people like you, because the harsh reality is there's a world out there where people get taken advantage of. They feel like this is the only route that they can take. This person's so well renowned. Like, it's just, it's fucked up.
On the lowest level and on the highest level.
Yeah.
And so, so basically what ended up happening was I started practicing boudoir. I started practicing implied, and mind you, I sucked at the beginning. Like everybody else doing anything, I sucked. But what I realized is that you're not a woman, but if you were a woman, then I would, like, if we were in a scenario, I would do the posing first. I would be the one to make fun of myself first. So that way they knew that, like, I guess that's the one thing that separates me from other people, and I didn't know that. Like Dylan and my team, and I believe you whenever you were like looking on my page and everything, you were all telling me that. Obviously, like, I can only see from my own lens, right? And so I thought other photographers are like that, but apparently they're not. And I guess that is what I didn't realize. That's what separates me.
And that's a very defining thing that separates you. I hope you realize that. Like, when people look at you, for me, that was the defining reason why I wanted to work with you guys, is because you just open up yourself to these vulnerable situations. You open up yourself to wanting to help and make your person feel the most comfortable that you're doing work with. So that's the defining reason. Anybody that needs work done or wants to pursue an endeavor through social media or whatever should 1000% reach out to you and your team, because that's what you guys are mastering, is the art of vulnerability. And it makes easy for people that are looking from the outside in to be like, oh, I can work with this person because they're making it easy for me to come out of my shell, you know? So I know you just dropped a lot.
Note that, the art of vulnerability. That was beautiful.
I know. Thanks.
Wow.
I know that you just dropped a lot on the reason behind what it is that you're doing. One thing that I want to cover is I want to talk about your support system through this whole entire journey, right? Like, I know that you've gone from Arizona to Indiana back to, like, you've been all over, and this journey has taken you on different paths.
Yeah.
Who are people? Because I feel like all of us, we need somebody to back up on. Like, we need some kind of we want to surround ourselves around people that help motivate us and encourage us. Like, we need to be around those kind of people, right? And it is like literally it's necessary, right? It's necessary for our own life and just being, right? Like, we need to be around people with common goals, and so we can grow. And you got a lot going on during this time. Who are people that helped encourage you through this just navigating all these different jobs and now finding photography? And
So I've got my team over there, and they're pointing at themselves because they were here. they were here through damn near all of it. I don't know how I'm going to say this, but I'm going to try and say this. Because I've spoken to my team about this a little bit. It's going to be a weird answer for you. I have too many people in my corner. And hold on. I have too many people in my corner. And when I say that, is somebody here? Okay. Hold on. Oh, okay. All right, because I got emotion, and I'm like, we'll cut this. Well, no, I heard something going on, and I'm like, who's stealing shit? I'm like, okay, good.
Are you guys gonna come back in? Or are you gonna start there? Okay.
Or come back in.
You want us to come back in?
Yes.
It's up to you.
Yeah, because she's a part of the team too.
Well, it's enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Stay inside. If you're gonna stay out there, close the door.
No, it's fine. Okay, so yeah, so hold on. So the question one more time was, who was? Are you coming? Yeah, yeah. Here, there's another chair over there. Just bring it over to you. So obviously she's gonna edit this, but like,
yeah, no, I can re-ask the question. The question I have for you is, you're going through all these different avenues and you're trying different stuff. I want you to talk a bit about your support system and how they positively, or maybe there's some situations that you went through that like kind of negatively impacted you during all this time.
well, this is the interesting part. So like, and this is why it's actually very confusing. And we're still recording, right? Okay. So here, this is the confusing part, is that nobody told me that I couldn't do it, and everyone supported me, but no one could do anything for me. everyone, my mom, my dad, regardless of the, dad, regardless of like the family issues, all the shit. Mom, dad, sister, especially sister, because she was there from the very beginning. My whole freaking team knows that. Danae, Dylan, Cheska, freaking nobody didn't think I would succeed. And I never had any haters, but no one could help me. Yeah, that's why I was saying, like, it's a very confusing answer. They were all like, you can do it, you can succeed. And I'm like, help. And they're like, how? And I go, I don't know. And they're like, great, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
That was basically, I mean, not verbatim, but like that was the conversation I had with everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, 6 degrees of separation, but like, I don't, like, where am I going to get money? Where am I going to get clients? Where am I going to get support? Where am I going to get mentorship? I don't know the question. Like, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know the right questions to ask. My father clearly stated that. Bad joke, sorry. So like all of these things, like so basically I was in, and then like literally all of them, I would cry to each one of my members of High Flash Media. And I would say like I am stressed out, I'm anxious, I'm sad, I'm depressed, because I have all these ideas, I have all these things that I want to do, and everyone's saying I can. Great, what does that mean? So like, I don't even know if that answered your question, but like maybe like, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird because literally everybody said I would succeed, but nobody helped me.
Well,
Not that they didn't help me, but like I never got what I believe other people may have gotten, like money, mentorship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, the person that's listening to this that is possibly resonating with where you're at, like they just don't know what's the next step. How do I have this idea of this mission that I want to accomplish, but I just don't know what to do. What did you do? Like, did you just...
Okay, so
And what was it?
So, okay, this is... Okay. I keep saying okay. All I knew is that if I just kept trying different things, something would work. And I had to believe that even if everybody else didn't, what's the freaking word? I know what I look like. I know. I'm trying to think of the right word. My level of, it's an R word.
Resiliency?
No. Oh man, what is it?
Keep talking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I'm willing to jump out of a plane. I'm trying to figure out what the word is. Like, I'll jump out of a plane. I'll jump in front of a bus for somebody. Like, huh? Yes, I think it's an R word though. Risk. I thank you. I have a high, I don't know what the term is. Like, I'm willing to risk everything to try something. And a lot of people are not, and I understand that. But my level of risk is like, I don't know how to like say it correctly, but I'm willing to risk everything for an idea. Because maybe it'll work. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I knew that, like, in the very beginning, and even right now, just everything, what do we know? Everything, anything good takes time. So if I just keep doing that thing, the right thing, it'll work somehow, some way. And if I just keep employing the amount of risk that, the level of risk that I have, then not only will it work, but the cost value, whatever, blah blah blah, like, I'll be like, something great will happen from me risking everything. That's what I'm trying to say. And so I know that I have, man, if you could help me out with the words here, but like, man, I'm struggling. It's just, I know that I will risk everything. And like, if there's a level, okay, 1, not risking anything because you have mortgage, family, children. Like, believe me, I know where I am. Like, I don't have any of those, and I'm very grateful. Car bill, like all these things, right? I have chosen to put my life in a position where I don't have all of those responsibilities. Therefore, my level of risk. So, 1 is not risking anything. 10 is I'm like at an 8.5, 9, and I will take everything and I will risk. But like most people, and it's not bad. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, people have different values, morals, values, all the things that we talked about. 2, 3 is their risk tolerance, I guess. Dude, I got 9.
Yeah.
Like, I will go, like, I don't know, to figure out something for Five Flash Media. Like, if I had an idea and it involved you, we're getting on a plane tomorrow.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, does that make sense?
No, it makes
Oh,
perfect
man.
sense. But I want to ask you something else before we wrap this up. Is as I'm talking to you, you're like the fucking Energizer Bunny, dude. Like, you just you go in, and I let you just talk and speak what's on your heart, because I think I want to make sure that you get everything out that you feel. And but there's one thing that I want to ask.
We still have 45 more minutes, so keep going.
Okay. Well, for anyone that's still tuned in, thank you.
Oh, they're tuned in. They're locked in.
There's one question that I want to ask you, because I'm putting together the pieces of your journey, and I want to know if there's any moments that really hit you that made it tough for you to get to where you're at, right? Like, you have this, you're ambitious as hell, dude. Like, you have an idea and you go after it, and a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people are scared of what people will think. A lot of people are scared of what's the return back to it, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You're ambitious as hell. And I just wonder if there's been any road bumps along this road besides the ones that you've already brought up. Like, yeah, there's the business road bumps, but are there any personal road bumps that you had to overcome during this?
There was a time that I did want to kill myself. And I'm saying this like nonchalantly, but I'm only saying it like that because I have grown past it. I'm not saying it because it's not important, or you know what I mean? Like, so when I say this, like, for anybody who is watching, I don't want you to think that like that is not a serious thing. It is a serious thing, but for me, I was able to move past it and grow from it. So
because of the stresses of this business is.
Oh man, so we are going to dive in a little bit to when I was living in Indiana, and I'm not going to name any names for respect of these people because I know they're going to watch at some point. But I'm going to preface with, I'm looking at the camera when I say this, I'm going to preface with, I was not perfect either. I was a child. I was, when I say a child, just turned 21, 22, figuring out life, trying to understand who I am, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, okay? So I moved to Indiana for a girl, and I thought it was, actually, no. I didn't think it was going to be hunky-dory. I was going to say hunky-dory. I don't even know where that came from. I thought it was going to be a good time for me to leave the house, leave the nest, because I had always lived at my parents' house. I had gotten an apartment before that, but it didn't work out. I had to sell all my shit, whatever. Went back to my parents' house, met a girl, moved to Indiana, and...
Because of this girl? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was going to school in Indiana, and my verbatim words to her were, well, I'm not doing anything, so why not?
Yeah.
Later on, I realized, because everybody would ask me, why Indiana?
Yeah.
And I said, well, because I had the time, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You learn later what Indiana could bring, and it was a whole lot of nothing.
I got some friends from Indiana. I don't know.
Yeah.
In Indiana.
No, I mean, yeah, I just...
Anybody go to Indiana for vacation?
I don't know. You know what?
I don't know.
At this point...
I don't know. But anyways.
Oh, man. But now, Okay, so I go to Indiana for her. And everything was good in the beginning, like it always is, right?
Right.
And I was as ambitious then as I am now. I got a job. I got 3 jobs, and I went on my phone, and every morning I would, because I had Snapchat at the time, and I had built this big platform on Snapchat, and I would say, "Good morning, Snapchat world. My name is Joshua Kotzen, your overnight success story." And I had all these people watching me, and they all knew my good morning little spiel. And I didn't have a car at the time. I didn't have any. I moved there in her car with nothing but a Ziploc. It was, the big Ziploc, but like clothes. I was like, the vacuum was like,
Yeah.
just so they knew it wasn't just like a Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
I had a tie. No. So I was so ambitious, and the long story short is that the relationship did not go the way that I thought, and I ended up feeling. Remember, I was not perfect, and I should have done a lot of different things than I did. But this is what it is, and this is what happened. And so I ended up feeling like I was more a father than a boyfriend, and I started emotionally leaving the relationship. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't as fast as how I felt like right before it ended, the relationship ended, and I had gotten so depressed and so sad, and I was just so angry at myself and life, and that I put myself in that situation, and I didn't know how to talk to this person and be a fucking man, honestly, and just and have that conversation, because I wasn't a man at that time. Like I said, I was a boy, and I was trying to figure shit out.
What was scaring you
Um,
to have that talk? Like, you felt this certain way.
Oh, I wasn't mature at all, and that was the whole point. Like, I had no maturity at that time.
Yeah.
And like, how are you supposed, like, for me, I'm talking to myself when I say that, but like, how am I supposed to have a mature conversation when I am not a mature person? And that required a mature conversation.
Right.
And I was nowhere near, like, mentally or emotionally the right place, time, person for that conversation. So I fucked up, and I emotionally left the relationship. But before the actual relationship ended, on a bad note, because I didn't have the proper communication, and I'm making sure that I say that because it's the truth, because 50-50. I decided to go to what was it, Kroger? It was the Fry's of Indiana, and there were 3 different Krogers, 3 different Fry's, whatever. One was Krogetto, Krogucci, and what was the other one? Crow Country. And
that's some Indiana shit or something. Or?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was in the small town, in the town of Bloomington.
Okay.
Because it was a college town, and so one of them was open 24 hours, and the other ones weren't. And so
I feel like that 24-hour one's probably one you don't want to be going to.
you don't, but at the time, with what I needed and what I'm about to say, it was necessary.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, was that Krogetto? Okay. So for Krogetto, open 24 hours. I think it was like 3 in the morning, and I don't remember which car I was in, but I went in there. I bought a 4-pack of serrated knives. Serrated? Yeah, serrated. That's the one where we go, right? Yeah, serrated knives. And then I took my left arm, and I don't know, like, there's a line right there, but I started like chewing at my muscle in my arm, and I just wanted to end it. I was just so pissed. There was no life in me, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like everything that you see in front of you. Like, imagine like a black and white muted version of this. Like, nothing. And I called my sister, and I was trying to say, without saying it, "I love you. I'm going to try and kill myself. Have a good night." Basically. And so we had a small call. I was crying, and then now I accidentally, I'm not going to say any names because I'm trying to be respectful here, but I accidentally somebody else answered, like whenever, like, you were ending the call, somebody calls, somebody, I answered it. What could I do? It was an iPhone 6.
Yeah.
And that person nursed me back to health, really got me out of that situation, and I ended up, I got out of it. But the point is, that was the lowest time that I've ever had, because I have so much love for everybody, and I just want to do so much. But at that point, and I feel like this is going to happen with everybody, like every person, somebody who's listening to this, right? Everybody's growing up in some way, shape, or form. And nobody was a mentor to me. Like, there are certain ways that you can learn. You can either learn from your mistakes or somebody else's mistakes. And which way is smarter? Somebody else's mistakes. But if you're not taught that, most people do the first because they don't know. And so, long story short, I had to learn from my own mistakes. And that was the most painful experience. Even though I knew that, like, I was going to be... I don't even know how I thought in that moment that everybody would be fine if I left. Like, everybody would be fine. And I'm not trying to be like... I'm really not trying to get emotional right now. And this is, like, I feel like a freaking tear right now. But, I thought everybody, I thought that, like, I didn't matter in that moment. And I don't talk about that a lot. I rarely even think about it because I always, we had a conversation before, and I always think about, like, looking to the future, because I just, again, what's the purpose? I want to help people. So I don't look back. I rarely look back. I actually ask my team to help me remember the good things that I've done, because I don't even think about it for myself or for the business, because I would rather forget that and keep working. But it was the most painful time. And after that, I never, like, decided or made the decision to never do it again. I just, because, like, that never occurred to me. But I just realized that we were talking about, like, the moral compass kind of thing, but, like, the thing that is driving me is I want to help other people. And I know that I can do certain things better than other people who suck. And if I could suck less and do better, then I want to do it. And so that's why I really don't even, like, care about, like, my what are they called? My successes or whatever they're called.
Right.
I don't care. But it does help whenever, like, other people help remind me, because I do get sad a lot.
I want to go back to that moment you're in the car and you receive that phone call from the person that essentially
Saved my life, basically.
saved your life. I want to pinpoint the action of that person. There was obviously something... I believe with friendships, we have a responsibility to be there for those that are close to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we are afraid to ask people how they're doing for whatever reason. It's not easy, right? Like, it's tough to have those kind of conversations. But
Yeah.
sometimes you get blessed to have people, like you mentioned, in your life that can help pull you out of that, what I like to call a gully, where you feel like you're trapped and enclosed. And I believe that they're like true angels to this world. I personally, when I was in my relationship and it went south on me, I was, like, pretty fucked up too. I was in a really bad spot. And I don't think I ever had the idea of hurting myself, but there's this pain of, like, going through a heartbreak that maybe doesn't get talked about so much, that is, like, I don't know, anyone that's gone through heartbreak, they know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. It's like this feeling of just, like, your soul is crushed, this numbness throughout your body, and you are, maybe the reason why you went to go find knives is because you want to feel something. It's like,
That's
fuck,
literally
like,
what I
this is,
was looking for, to feel something.
And
Yes.
our friends have a responsibility being our friends. It's one thing to just be there and to laugh and have good times with us, but I truly believe like a fiduciary responsibility. Like it is their job to make sure that they are there for us, people that really care for us. And when I was going through my hard times, I was posting it on social media, and I had people that I undoubtedly owe so much gratitude to because they just showed up. They
Shit, I do too. Yeah.
They were just there. I didn't ask them to be, but they were just they felt like a shift in energy. Like this person is going through something. They're going through life. It's that time of their life where they're going through it, and it's fucking hard for them. And I just think that like if you are listening to this and you have friends that are posting about people that have just passed away, or you've just lost a job, or something in your career has not gone as planned, it is your responsibility to reach out to those people, because men like you and me, we don't open up well. At least in the past we didn't, and it's tough. Like we try to hold it all in, but we'll try to give clues, and sometimes we don't. Like with dealing with this, it's fucking tough because sometimes you don't see the signs, but if you do, and you're blessed and you're gracious and you're blessed to see the signs, you have to say something. You have to do something. You have to be there and ask them like, hey man, how are you doing? And only people in your circle know, like they'll feel an energy shift. And I'm so grateful for those people in my life that as I was going through those tough times, they were just there. Hey man, I love you. I'm there for you. If you need me, I'm here. Just open up the conversation, and it's changed my whole life. These people that have just literally just
Out of
been
the blue.
so selfless.
So what I wanted to say is that so like I really go above and beyond, and people say that I shouldn't, but it is in my nature. It's just who I am, where I will call somebody. I also, at this point, I have forgotten that people have day jobs, and it's weird because like I'm calling them at 2 and 3 p.m. and even Cheska is like not answering me, and I'm wondering why, but it's a Thursday and she's working. Again, different because the state that I'm in, but I go above and beyond, and I do try and just call people. I call people, and I just ask them how they're doing, and I think kind of the same way that you talk to your audience, I would like to talk to your audience as well. And like, you don't have to call 20 people a day or 10 people a day. But if there is, like, if you see, like, sometimes there are never signs. Like, that's a good indicator. Like, if somebody died, then yeah, definitely, like, please call them. But like sometimes there's never signs, and days go. There's so many like ups and downs in a day, and then in a week, and then in a month. And so like I guess what I am saying is, I guess if I could say anything, just if you open up your Instagram, and on the top are all the stories, and you see somebody that you haven't talked to in a little while, maybe just either text or call them, and just see how they're doing. Yeah. It's not that, for you, it's not that big of a deal. But maybe for them, it is God or the universe or serendipity helping them to get off the ledge because you texted them.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I think people would be surprised to know that a little bit of encouragement could be night and day for somebody. And if it is bestowed upon you and you have your conscience telling you you should do something regarding that, I think you should.
I was really upset the other day. Not in like I was I think it was like a week and a half ago. I was very discouraged. And out of the blue, I got a message on Instagram. It was from this chick who I met in Indiana, and there was this. It was a long expose, I'll tell you that. But I was really upset, and that one message, I hadn't talked to her in 3 years maybe, And she was like, "Hey, and I'll show you later. Like, it was pretty beautiful." But she's like, "I've been watching everything. I just had a baby. I've been out of my creative nature, and life has been up and down. But I just wanted to say that I've seen your stuff, and I respect you, and all these other things that I really can't. I think I told you this already. I can't internalize that. It feels weird. Like whenever you tell me or somebody tells me like that they look up to me or they're like all the good stuff. I'm like, please keep that to yourself.
Right.
I mean, give me, but no. I started crying.
Yeah.
Like I mean, nobody was here for that, but I was just like tearing up, and it just, she had no idea what was going on, and I don't know what compelled her to message me that, but she did, and it was like damn near perfect, like right place, right time. I was alone. I needed to cry.
Yeah.
So there's that.
We covered a lot in this podcast, and I appreciate you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your stories. And as I've mentioned numerous times, like I just feel like there is so many commonalities between between you and the people that'll listen to this, and definitely for me. Like I've gone through heartbreak, and I've gone through the loss of close friends, like all things that I've gone through, and I see the way that you have surrounded yourself around like-minded people, and that those things have made the difference for you. And I want to encourage people to surround themselves around like-minded people and surround yourself around love and people that are genuinely interested in your best interest.
Well, I'll tell you though, it's hard to do that.
And it's fucking really hard, man.
So that's the thing though, whenever, some people aren't trying to get out of their current situation. Some people are happy in their current situation, but that means that the people that are around them are not in there for their best interest. They're coworkers. They are their family members. So I know what you're saying, but sometimes it's difficult to do that. And so it might not be the people around you. Sometimes you have to create it.
Yeah.
And this is only my experience, but I did not have people around me who were the right people, like what you were saying, like-minded people. So I had to, and I still don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm trying, still trying.
Yeah.
But I think, and everything takes time. But I believe, this is what I did. I'm not saying anything to anybody else. I had to create an environment where the people I surrounded myself with were like-minded. And for me, it takes time. For me, it took time. But I believe that would be a better thing for somebody who's starting out than trying to make somebody believe the same thing if they're a coworker. Or, I don't know. I don't even know if that made sense. But
No, I see what you're saying. I just know that just based off our conversation and seeing how you operate, your intentions seem noble, and they are for the right reasons. And so as a boost of encouragement to you, I would ask that you just continue to do what you're doing, the selflessness and just the want to help put people on a stronger pedestal to feel more confident and stronger about themselves. You have done me a great service, and I will owe you a debt of gratitude for as long as this podcast gets going, because you have let me into your home, you've helped me with this platform, and I want to do the best that I can to bridge the gaps between the average Jay and just understand that all of our stories are ubiquitous and we all have a commonality that we can learn from each other. There's a tradition on this podcast where the last guest will ask a question for the guest that's sitting down right now. And I'm going to stop saying this after this podcast, but people that are listening for the first time, I've gotten this idea from Stephen Bartlett. He is the podcast host of Diary of a CEO, and he's offered me a lot of encouragement through his vulnerability. And I just want to do it on a scale that's much lower. But yes, this is his idea, but it's just a perfect way to bridge gaps.
Yeah. And it's a good idea.
The question that I have for you from the last guest is, what is your personal definition of success?
God. It's funny because, like, what, 3/4 into this, I said I don't even know what success means to me right now.
I think you've said it a lot throughout the podcast without saying it. I'm curious how you answer it, though.
So, man, what is my... Can I talk about, like, do you have 5 more minutes that I could talk about this one thing?
Dude, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry a little bit when I say this. Oh man, damn it, it's coming. Oh no, go back in. So remember how I said I wanted to talk about Eden?
Right, yeah.
Oh, it's coming. Yep. Talk about being vulnerable, right? So when I was in Indiana, I asked people if they could be my mentor, if they could teach me how to shoot videography, photography, if they could teach me how to edit. I asked them if I could work for them for free, if I could work for cheap, then work for free, then clean their house, wash their car, do whatever it took. Nobody gave me the opportunity. There was this one person, and he asked for $1,000 a week for 3 hours of his time. And that didn't make any sense to me because I think I made $800 a month at that point. I just wanted somebody to help me, and nobody would help me. Remember how I said, like, people believed in me, but that's great, but then, like, how am I gonna afford a $8,000 camera?
Right.
Like, you can pay for it in hugs or something. I don't know. Like, it doesn't make sense. So, so then fast forward, I meet this young, aspiring artist chick at the same bar that you met, Danae. And she was hearing me do my little spiel and getting clients and networking, basically. And it was her first day working at that bar. And she looks over at me and she goes, "Are you just networking?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is what I do." And she's like, "Whatever you're doing, I want in." Yeah. It was first day. And I said, "Bet, what can you do?" She goes, "I don't know, but whatever it is, yeah. You media company, photo, video, I'll learn." And I'm like, "Cool, you're in." Yeah. She had just moved from a different state, started that job. That was the first day. Now, fast forward, it's been, 9 months with her? I find so much. This is the long-winded answer to what is your definition of success. Thanks. And after I say all of this, can you please tell me what I said that I didn't know that I said in the podcast, because I don't know. You know what I mean?
Gladly.
So
I think you're gonna get there, but go ahead.
I wish I was, but you're gonna help me with that one. Fast forward 9 months, I have never felt so proud of one person, where this young chick who is so I don't know, she has so much life. She reminds me of me, and it's scary. You attract who you are, right? So I have set her up with basically a backpack, thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and it was my sole goal to help somebody. Because if I could help one person, I could help 1,000. We set her up with, and the company purchased all this. So, $3,000 camera, lights, tripod or monopod, whatever, she had her own laptop, mouse, um, uh, just literally any. I mean SD cards, every batteries, anything and everything that one person would need to be successful in photography, videography, and editing. I basically was able to just purchase it for her and give it to her so that way there was no excuses other than her creativity, and that's what she had. And so now she runs 3 contracts right now, and she was here yesterday, right? And you could see the level of respect and happiness and joy that she has, knowing that no one else, literally, like I don't want to say literally no one else, but like that no one gets this opportunity to just have all of this equipment handed to you, just because. Bottom line is, I just want her to succeed, and I want her to do great, and I know that she can do great, and I don't want the lack of things. See, I'm messing this up, but I don't want her. I don't want the fact that she didn't have a camera or lights or microphones or all this stuff to stop her from being great. So I said, okay, here, I'll buy it. And I bought it, and she's doing phenomenal. And every time I see her, every time I look at her, like, it just makes me so happy. Like, she's doing really good. Man, see? Yeah. Didn't me too. Okay. And so basically, if I can do that for her, I can do that for thousands of people. And this is just the start, but it had to start somewhere. And so, yeah, that is my definition of success. Yeah.
It's selfless.
Shoot.
And we all see it, dude. It's incredibly selfless. And unfortunately, we live in a society, as I mentioned before, that we all are trying to get to this pinnacle of what we think is a pinnacle. And what does it mean if we don't have anybody to take along with us? If we don't have anybody to share moments and ideas with? And I had a realtor, she'll be on here. Her name is Brooke, and she once explained to me that there's enough of the pie for everybody. Sometimes we get so engulfed in this greed that this is all mine, this is mine, this is just for me. And, the act that you just showed with trying to help someone that you know has a creative talent, but they just don't have the means in which they can express it. You doing that, I know for a fact, is changing her life. And it is the true it's the
now
true,
you made me cry more.
Well, it's the true trait of a leader, your selflessness and your vulnerability. And I just have a strong belief that the sky is the limit for you and this company, as long as you continue to keep those main traits that you've developed over experience and time. I mean, they're not easy to come about. There's not a lot of people like you, and you've been gifted with this platform to do right. And by all means, it seems as if that is what you're doing, and you're taking people along the ride with you, and that's encouraging. And
well, thank you.
Something to be had and something to be said for. So
Okay, so then what is my definition of success?
Selflessness.
Oh, that's what it. Oh, wow.
It's the ability to.
No, I
feel
honestly.
like I just feel like you grade your success based off of your selflessness. Not once has any kind of like selflessness with your time,
Wow.
selflessness with your equipment. I see it, your team sees it, people on social media see it, and I believe right now that is how you grade success, is the ability to be selfless, which is you do not see a lot, because nowadays it's all about a dollar amount. But what can you do to give back to your community? How can you help other people get out of that gully and that part of their life that they were in? A lot of it is because you didn't have it.
Yeah.
Just talking to you didn't have it. For me, like, I have goals and ambitions that I want to do down the road. I want to open up a new gym down the road, a couple months from whenever the timing feels right. But I want to open up a gym where kids that don't have the means to go to these big camps and trainers, like they can come and get real professional training help from people that are in my life that are played in the NFL, that have played college football, but they just know that there are kids out there that can't afford it. Unfortunately, we live in a world now with inflation going through the roof where it's just they feel like, fuck, like I'm already behind the curve. How do I keep up with this dude that lives in Scottsdale that mom is paying for all their shit and they're going to all these camps? Like, how do I compete with somebody like that? And it's a different world now. Like, it's a different world, and I want to down the road offer that to kids that just don't have the means. I just want them to show up. Fucking just show up. Just show me you care, and I will lay out the red carpet for you and try to do everything that I possibly can to help get you there. I can't promise it, but I can do what I can to help try to navigate you. And it's something that I see in you with your equipment and helping out this person is you can't promise them success, but I can give you the tools that I feel might enhance your possibility to do it. And that is how I feel, and that is how you create success. And it's admirable. So thank you so much, man, for coming on here and speaking. It's it's a huge. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. It's exactly why I'm here. It's exactly why I'm working with you guys, and we'll see what happens in the future. We will try to get guests on here that have a story that feel comfortable with talking about their story, because I believe that their story is somebody else's blessing, and there's someone that'll listen to this, whether you'll see it, whether they'll message you, whatever. They probably won't say anything, but there's someone that something that you said in here will resonate with them, and they'll have just the bit of encouragement from.
They're going to message you on your YouTube in 5 years and 3 months.
Well,
and they're going to say, oh, that Joshua kid. Thank you.
Whenever.
I won't see it. You'll see it.
Everyone's got a story, man. Everyone's got a story. It's the greatest gift that we have on this earth. I strongly believe that, because we all are dealing with similar things, and we want to see people show how they've gotten through it. We get encouragement from it. And I only say that because I've personally experienced it. I've gone through rock bottoms. I've gone through tough times. And it's the people that I've surrounded myself around that have showed their vulnerability, that have told me their stories. And they've told me, you'll be all right. You'll make it. It's just part of life. Just keep fighting. One step at a time. And now it gets me emotional because I've been in that spot. I know what it's like to hurt. I know what it's like to go through tough times. And if it weren't for the people that I've surrounded myself around, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in this position. And I'm so grateful for everyone that steps in this chair across from me, because it is the hardest thing to tell their story, but it is the most powerful thing I think this world has, is vulnerability. So thank you.
No, he's great.
I'm fucking starving, but thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Seriously.